Straight ahead on CCX News, it's already being called historic. This weekend's winter storm that has already impacted local events and has local plow crews ready for anything. Plus, the impact on outdoor sports schedules. Have we ever had an April like it? We catch up with a coach of a Brooklyn Park youth baseball team. And Plymouth and Maple Grove city officials asked state lawmakers for something that has never been done before. CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. It is Friday the 13th, and as luck would have it, another big snowstorm is headed our way.
Reporter Sonia Goins shows us how folks are getting ready for what some are calling a mega storm.
This is a very dynamic storm system, and I'd say, almost anything can happen with it.
The winter-like weather hasn't hit us yet, but oh, it's coming. Signs of spring are showing at Parker's Lake, but it's all about to change.
Over the Northwest Metro, at least 8 to 12 inches is kind of what's expected. Some areas are probably going to get more than that.
Kenny Blumenfeld is a hazardous weather specialist for Hennepin County. He says we're going to get a mixture of rain, ice, snow, and high winds. The combination will limit visibility.
Especially the parts of the Northwest Metro that are outside of the 694 and 494 corridor, the more open areas will have the better chances of seeing significant restrictions in visibility.
Plymouth Public Works crews are ready for whatever comes our way. They spent the day loading up on salt.
We have about 35 staff that we can bring in for a full call out. In addition to that, we have some contractors that plow some of the cul-de-sacs for us.
People we talk with say they're ready for spring, real spring. And for folks who are tired of winter, they might want to come here to Orchids Limited, where it's tropical and a balmy 70 degrees. There are thousands of different kinds of plants and, of course, orchids that you might not see anywhere else in the world.
They brave the elements just to come out and get away from it. So, and they get in, they get tempted because there's outside it's ugly and here it's beautiful.
In Plymouth, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
And MnDOT is advising no travel on Saturday. Early local cancellations include all Parks and Rec classes Saturday in Plymouth, and the North Hennepin Community College campus in Brooklyn Park is also closed on Saturday. Local youth baseball teams are scrambling to find places to practice and wondering when they will actually be able to play a game.
Yeah, the cold and snowy spring has made it very challenging, to say the least, and we get more on that from Eric Nelson.
There is more to Edenbrook Elementary School than ABCs. The facility also doubles as a temporary practice spot for youth baseball organizations.
Station-based practices allow us to still do quite a bit, get the fundamental work in that we need. I don't know that there's a substitute for being out on the field, though.
With spring on hold, teams such as the 10-year-old Brooklyn Park Bulldogs are pitching and catching in a basketball gym. They are squeezing in as much prep time as they can before the weather finally warms up.
My biggest concern is it's going to compress our game schedule a little bit, and that's going to make it tough to get everything in the amount of time that we have to work with.
Bulldogs coach John Lawrence is trying to make sense of this frigid spring and can't remember anything like it.
I really can't, as far as anything that's gone this deep into the month. Normally the snow's gone, the frost is coming out, and you can usually get out somewhere.
The Bulldogs are happy just to be playing baseball, but there is no sugarcoating things. They have cabin fever this April.
What I don't really like about it is when we're doing pop flies, I see the ball and it goes in the light, so it just looks blank.
Nothing we can do in here can really compare to the scheme out there, but at the same time, it's just good for us to get in here and get some work.
There are some things you can't simulate in a gym. Playing outside is still the best option.
You get to slide, run bases more, actually hit live pitches more often.
It doesn't look like local baseball teams will be in the great outdoors anytime soon. There is plenty of snow still on area fields, and the forecast calls for a big storm this weekend.
I feel really bad for the kids. I remember playing sports in high school and being so excited to get out. It just looks like we're going to be in this cold pattern for at least a few more days into next week at least.
In Brooklyn Park, I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
In other news, a Brooklyn Center tax preparer recently learned her punishment for filing fraudulent tax returns that cost her clients thousands of dollars in back taxes. Annie Mae Hester must spend a year in the Hennepin County Workhouse and could face prison time if she violates the terms of her probation. She was also ordered to pay more than $63,000 in restitution. The criminal complaint says Hester inflated refunds by falsifying items like business losses or charitable deductions. The higher refunds, the complaint states, helped attract more clients. Her actions allegedly cost the state more than $1 million in tax revenue. Hester is also a senior pastor at Holsey Memorial Church in North Minneapolis. And according to the complaint, many of Hester's clients were immigrants or people with little knowledge of state tax laws. Maple Grove and Plymouth are looking for help from the state legislature.
And those cities want tax dollars collected by Hennepin County for transit redirected to their cities for road and bridge repairs. State lawmakers say it's an approach that's never been done before. Delane Cleveland joins us now to explain. Hi, Delane.
Mike and Alex, Plymouth and Maple Grove don't have a light rail running through their cities, nor are there any plans to have a light rail line running through their cities. And yet, they're having to pay taxes to fund light rail. Now they're hoping to have some of that money go toward their own infrastructure.
Roads and bridges in Plymouth. In 2017, the state legislature allowed Hennepin County to collect a half-cent sales tax for transit use. There isn't any transit coming through Plymouth or Maple Grove, and so they're collecting $125 million annually in this tax, and we would really like to see some investment in roads and bridges.
Plymouth Mayor KELLI SLAVIK says Plymouth and Maple Grove contribute 12% of the $125 million in tax dollars Hennepin County collects for transit. But SLAVIK says Plymouth gets little return on investment. She points to County Road 47, a two-lane road in a growing segment of the city that could use upgrades. SLAVIK also referenced the need to reconstruct a bridge on Rockford Road over Interstate 494, which is the site of about 33 car crashes per year. State lawmakers have introduced a bill that would help Plymouth and Maple Grove collect 50% of the tax they pay to come back to their communities.
It hasn't been done before, and honestly, this is not an approach I would normally take. But given the fact that the cities have been working with the county for years and still have not gotten what I would say is addressing this problem, this is kind of the last resort. Okay, we want to send the message of this is important, this is about public safety, and it's a regional need.
If the bill is approved by the state legislature, the cities would collect their tax revenue from Hennepin County until 2038. Mike and Alex.
All right, thanks a lot, Delane. Still ahead, a third grader who captivated her class by writing and directing her own play.
Plus, the OSSEO-PARK Center boys lacrosse team has a lot of returning players as they get set for the season. We preview the team later in sports.
But first, best to have a plan B for Saturday. On the bright side, temperatures warm up on Monday. We'll be right back.
Well, if there's one thing that's lacking in Brooklyn Park, it's public art projects.
But there is an effort underway to change that. City officials in Brooklyn Park are applying for a $1 million grant from Bloomberg Philanthropies Public Art Challenge. The Public Art Challenge encourages mayors to collaborate with artists to develop innovative projects that not only beautify a city, but also can address critical issues in their communities.
We have identified our community as an arts desert because we really haven't had enough. We've talked a lot about it, but we haven't done a lot about it. And so now we feel that this is an opportunity to kind of springboard us into action.
Brooklyn Park officials have identified the 5 future light rail transit stations as areas where they could incorporate public art. The city will find out this fall whether the grant application was successful.
Students at a Brooklyn Park Elementary School had the opportunity to watch a play that was written and directed by one of their classmates.
Earlier this year, Laura told me she had written this script over the summer, and I read it, and then she continued to improve upon it and make changes to it, and told me that she had the okay to go ahead and turn it into a production at Monroe.
30 students performed Rosie Revere Engineer for their classmates at Monroe Elementary School in Brooklyn Park on Friday morning. It's a story about a girl with a dream to become an engineer, and after initially dealing with failure, she learns that failure is an important part of finding success. Third grader Laura Simser wrote and directed the play and wanted to bring the message of perseverance to her peers.
When you're in a STEM school, they give you so many fun challenges, but they're not always easy, so you have to persevere and have a growth mindset.
The production is about 45 minutes long, and students performed it twice for the school in the morning, and 2 more performances were scheduled on Friday evening. Good job.
I think Laura's got a future there.
Still ahead, North Hennepin theater students tackle one of Shakespeare's last works. That's in Weekend Showcase.
But first, believe it or not, 2 local softball teams squeezed in their season opener. John Jacobson has the highlights coming up next in sports.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. Remember Thursday when it was sort of nice for a day? A few spring sports teams were able to squeeze in games ahead of this weekend's rain and snow. A new turf field available for games at Hopkins as the Royals hosted Maple Grove in softball. Ava Duick of Maple Grove goes the other way here. Mavis Sachs comes home. Marie Palinch hustles around and slides in safely. 2-1 Crimson, third inning on the double by Duick. Top of the 5th, Sophie Cohane rips a hit up the middle. Palinch and Kate Capster score, and it's 5-1 Maple Grove. Bottom of the 5th, Hopkins Morgan Hawley strokes the hit to score Laura Granger, and it's 5-2. 6th inning, Sachs turns on this pitch and drives it to right field all the way to the fence. Amanda Tyler and Ellie Hoffman and both score, and it's 7-2. Duick gets a strikeout to end the game. She gets the win. Maple Grove takes it 9-3 on the first day outside in Minnesota this season.
We've worked so hard inside on our techniques and hitting a lot, and as you can see, 9-3 win was really good. Our hitting really came through tonight. You know, it was super great. I think we adjusted really well to the cold. Although maybe our hands were pretty cold, I think we adjusted well because we had the momentum going of the game.
A few local lacrosse teams with turf fields were able to play games Thursday as well. Maple Grove boys hosting IRONDALE in the Northwest Suburban Conference game. The Crimson in white. Jake Robletzky passes to Drew Heisler. He'll dodge the defender and goes high into the Knights net with his shot. It's 3-1 Maple Grove in the first quarter. IRONDALE's Darby Hansen makes a run, then feeds Ryan Souls for the quick shot on goal, and it's a 3-2 goal game. The Crimson will counter that. Connor Pidrew finds Jaden Cruz. He'll attack the IRONDALE net and score, and Maple Grove is up 4-2. This game goes back and forth. Kevin Cabal lasers a shot in for IRONDALE here. Junior ties it at 4. Maple Grove goes back in front on a pretty goal. Carter Morris set to Heisler. He'll score again to make it 5-4 Crimson. IRONDALE, though, comes back in this game. The Crimson lose 8-7 to the Knights in overtime. The Maple Grove girls won their season opener 17-2 at IRONDALE. The OSSEO-PARK Center boys lacrosse team returns most of its high-end players this spring and has high expectations. Here's Jason Malillo with more.
OSSEO-PARK Center has 20 of 24 letter winners returning this season, and most of those guys have played varsity lacrosse together for several years.
We've all been playing with each other since 4th grade, and so we all kind of have a bond with each other, and I think this is a season we've all been waiting for since we were playing in the youth state tournament. And I know a lot of the guys, most of us are juniors and seniors, so most of us are seniors, so a lot of us are going to be parting, so it's kind of our last year all together.
OPC should have a dynamic offense as the top 5 leading scorers are back, led by junior midfielder Damon Lingassen, who racked up over 40 goals last year.
Just got a really nice shot. He's got experience. He lettered as a 7th grader and has been a starter for over 3 years already. So he's seen a lot of playing time. That definitely helps. He is definitely the leader on the offense as far as, you know, getting people in the right spots when he's out there.
On defense, OPC will be a work in progress. Its backliners are young and still learning, but starting goalie Ben Peterson returns, and he'll anchor that side of the field.
He's going to be very important. I mean, last year he quarterbacked it, and he did an amazing job. And this year, I'm hoping he'll be the same way. He seems like he's going to be, he's always super loud. He's a great goalie, great leader, and I'm excited to have him back.
OSSEO-PARK Center is still a pretty young team this spring, but the boys hope their experience and camaraderie will translate to a good season. Jason Malillo, CCX Sports.
The OPC boys game scheduled for Friday night has been postponed. The girls did win their season opener 8-7 Thursday over Elk River Rogers Zimmerman. Also, the Lloyd Olson Invitational Adapted Softball Tournament hosted by the Robbinsdale Hopkins Mound West Tonka Robins that we talked about yesterday has been canceled for Saturday because of the weather. That's all for sports. Alex and Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Well, perhaps Shakespeare was right. Now is the winter of our discontent.
How the weather could impact a different Shakespeare play when we come back. Well, the latest theatrical presentation at North Hennepin Community College opens tonight, Friday night.
That's right. You could say it's an oldie but a goodie, considering that it was first performed in 1611. Neil Persley has more in today's Weekend Showcase.
Everywhere. Awake! Awake!
The Tempest is Shakespeare's very last play that he wrote, so some of them say that this is his goodbye to the theater.
Will I kneel and repeat it? I shall stand, and so shall Trinculo.
The play is about a man named Prospero or Prospero, but we cast a woman, so it's Prospera, who lost her throne, was driven out of Milan by her brother, and he was in cahoots with the King of Naples at the time.
KAITLYN Barrett plays two characters, Alonzo, the King of Naples, and Stefano, the King's drunken butler.
My character Alonzo, along with the character of Antonio, overthrow Prospera, and she gets shipwrecked onto an island, and then we happen to be passing by said island, and she's got these magic powers, and she shipwrecked us onto the island to get her revenge.
And mayhem ensues. Interestingly, none of the actors had ever performed in a Shakespeare play, and the dialogue can be challenging.
You know, once you get the language into your mouth, I think it's, you know, it's just like any other play.
We did a lot of work on language at the beginning. We would have people do the language of the play and then kind of paraphrase it in their own words. So it was like having two rehearsal periods at once.
It's not a stiff, boring Shakespeare play. There's quite a bit of action on a very visually engaging stage.
And there's lots of movement, there's lots of song in this, lots of really, really beautiful design from Soren Olsen, and it's 85 minutes, intermissionless minutes, and so it's a really well done, I think, Shakespeare play that is the play.
For Weekend Showcase from North Hennepin Community College, Neil Persley, CCX News.
The Tempest runs through April 21st at North Hennepin Community College in Brooklyn Park. And if you're wondering about the weather, the show will go on tonight. That's Friday evening. But Saturday's performance has been canceled because the North Hennepin campus will be closed due to the weather. But again, goes on through April 21st, so plenty of time to get out there and see it.
Catch it next weekend.
That's right. That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Be careful getting around this weekend, and we'll see you back here again on Monday starting at 4.